Hello and welcome back to our study of Peninei Halacha, the teachings of Rabbi Eliezer Melamed Shlita. We continue midweek with the next chapter, and our learning should be l'zechus for the brave soldiers of the IDF, Refuah Shalem ala Am Yisrael, and to the safe return and release of all of our hostages. Next chapter, Kibush Eretz Pikuach Nefesh. Klal nakut biyadenu, v'chai behem v'lo shiamos behem. So the Gemara tells us that when the Torah speaks of living, you shall live by the mitzvos, the principle is that we live by mitzvos and we don't die by mitzvos. Kolomar, HaTorah nitna la'adam kedei sheyichya ba. The Torah was given to mankind, specifically to our people, so that we should live by it. V'lo sheyamos al yadan. It shouldn't be something that we die for. V'al pizeh nikba halacha meforsemes pikuach nefesh tocha Shabbos. And from this, of course, comes the well-known halacha that when it comes to the laws of Shabbos, they are suspended for Pikuach Nefesh in order to save a life. Kolomar, mechalim Shabbos kedei lahatzil cholam mesukan. If we have someone who's ill and in danger of death, then we're allowed to violate the Shabbos in order to save that person. V'lo rak haShabbos nidches mipnei Pikuach Nefesh, el kol mitzvos haTorah nidchos mipnei Pikuach Nefesh. And it's not just Shabbos, but all the mitzvahs in the Torah are pushed aside to save a life. Lefichach. Im yomer goyim le'echad Yisrael, la'asos masa sheyesh bo aver al achas mitzvos haTorah, ya'avor v'lo yehereg. If someone oppresses us and says to a Jewish person, you have to do something and violate an avera, a negative commandment in the Torah, let's say, and our response should be, or else, obviously I will kill you, our response should be, ya'avor v'lo yehereg. You have to violate the commandment, and you don't give your life for that. Chutz mishalosh averos. There are three exceptions to this rule: avodah zara, gilui aros, shfichas damim. Idol worship, unlawful relationships, and murder. She'im yomer la'adam harogas chavercho she'nargosach. If someone says, "Kill someone else, or I will kill you," yehereg v'al yaharog. You have to let yourself be killed, and you cannot kill the other person. V'chenim yomer la'avodah zara plonis o she'nargosach. Yehareg v'lo ya'avor. V'chein megilei aros. Also, if someone says, worship this avodah zarah, or have relations with this person with whom you're not allowed, then you have to give your life as opposed to violating the mitzvahs. Aval b'chol shar ha-mitzvahs, however, with the remainder of the mitzvahs in the Torah, ein la'adam limsaras nafsho kedei l'kaiman, the Gemara tells us, one does not have to give over one's life in order to fulfill it. Amnam kol ze amar l'gabe mitzvah shel yachid. This, however, only applies to an individual, or mitzvahs that apply to an individual. Ula mitzvahs yishev ha'aretz, shehi mitzvah shemutelas haklal Yisrael docha pikuach nefesh. However, when it comes to the mitzvah of settling the land of Israel, which, as we've been discussing, is a mitzvah that falls on klal Yisrael, it's on the communal obligation level, that overrides pikuach nefesh. Shari me'etzem zeh sha'torah tzivasa osarna likvosh es ha'aretz, because we see that the fact that the Torah tells us that we have to conquer the land of Israel, we learn that we have to even put people in harm's way, in danger, in order to fulfill that, as we have unfortunately learned all too painfully so in the last number of days. That's with an aleph. There is no war that has no loss. And certainly the Torah does not want us to rely on any sort of miraculous victory where nobody gets hurt. However, when it comes to the mitzvah of settling the land of Israel, which is a general mitzvah for the Jewish people, then we have to literally give over our lives at times. And this was what happened with the Jewish people in the time of King David, at the time of Yehoshua, at the time of the second Beis HaMikdash, and also in the Hasmonean era. But we have to qualify these things a bit. Even on a general mitzvah, meaning one that applies to the populace, not to the individual only, still we have a principle of a chai behem, that you have to live by them, and that you shouldn't die by the mitzvahs. But since this is a communal mitzvah, The calculation has to be on what's best for society, for the Israeli society at large, and not just on specific soldiers, let's say. V'lechein, b'matzav sheyeshna sevirus gevoha shelo natzliach b'milchama. If let's say we have a situation where the higher-ups conclude that this is a war that we cannot win, v'od chas v'chalila anu alulum lahavsid es hanachalos shekvar b'yadeinu, v'chayei oma kula yimutalim ala maznayim, b'matzav kazeh ein mitzvah liftoach b'milchama l'kibush haaretz. If they make the calculation that not only can we not win this war, but we could perhaps lose some of the territory that we already have, and the life of the community will be hanging in the balance, in this he says perhaps it's wiser not to start the war to begin with. You can't just say, oh, it's kibush haaretz, it's settling the land of Israel. The Torah is one of life, and not a Torah that commands us to fight a losing war in which we will have more losses than we can deal with. However, when there is a consensus, or certainly from the higher-ups, realizing that we can indeed be victorious, even though we know that many lives will be lost, we have to still conquer the land, certainly to hold on to what we already have. And one need not be a rocket scientist to apply this to what's going on, Mamash Hayom Hazeh, the war that rages on. And, of course, the military knows that losses will incur. We've incurred way too many losses. But each one is there to defend the land of Israel, to ensure our safety. It's not about gaining territory, but it's about ensuring that we can keep what we have. Rav continues, we have to note here, any nation that is not willing, with Mesiras Nefesh, to give over lives in order to battle for their land, well then, you're putting your citizens in danger vis-a-vis their neighbors. Any nation that doesn't enlist or draft its sons so that they can fight with Mesiras Nefesh for their land and for their homeland, in the end, they will be conquered. And the descendants will be cast away, and there'll be nothing to speak of. Therefore, the mitzvah to battle and to go to war for the land of Israel, with giving life over, Mesiras Nefesh, is exactly about saving lives. So much so that a person who spends his time fighting for, protecting the borders of Israel is actually fulfilling two mitzvahs, settling the land, but also protecting the land. In the note here, he actually quotes something called Torah's Hamadina from Reb Shlomo Goren. Reb Shlomo Goren, who was the chief rabbi of the IDF, a well-known figure, and he wrote the sefer about the sort of the philosophy of the Medina. Fascinating sefer, but he quotes also about the importance of how we have to have the attitude, the right attitude, when it comes to protecting the land of Israel. In any event, we have to keep davening for those who are protecting the land of Israel, the brave soldiers in the IDF, our Chaylim Chayalot, for Shalem Ala'am Yisrael, the return of all of our hostages. Thank you so much for listening. I hope everyone has a great day ahead.